Hey there guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Sorry this video wasn't uploaded sooner, but I just binged all of Cyberpunk Edge Runners and I had to pause everything I was doing to dedicate a full day of my life to dismembering a certain villainous asshat from 2077 who deserves the utmost excruciating end to his existence 1,000 times over. I now have a fully dedicated save file exclusively devoted whenever I remember what it is he's done, so I can go back and put my cybernetic boot so far up his ass he can taste a combination of heart-wrenching anguish and cheap chrome. Anyways, you didn't come here to listen to me bitch about a show, and I didn't come here to openly weep on camera, so let's begin. Last we left off, we secured the two houses whose support we really need, but apparently we still need to hunt down the Tipline house whose usefulness we're really not super sure on. So, with the most useless Rooney Tuning companion we have in tow, we go meet the cagiest grandfather we've met in Starfield yet, who does very briefly start saying some very neat shit about serving the community that I'm kind of vibing with, but there's always a catch. We have to go to some dam on this barren-ass planet and collect some research notes of the third house, Halstel kept vague records of, and they also sent an ASCII to so he could check it out earlier before all the big blue boom. Also, while I may have vaguely been shitting on Halstel this whole time, I gotta admit, I sipped their Kool-Aid, judgment pending though. Katie Grandpa was speaking my language. Side note, thank God for the suborbital shuttle. Imagine walking anywhere, some kind of peasant. Anyways, to make it to the dam, only to be met by the world's shortest urban explorer, and he helpfully rats on the guy who was taking one of the key cards to missing leader drop during his expedition here. He gives it up pretty quickly after some light bullying that makes the task of getting it feel so inane I feel like I've just queued up another Naruto filler episode, so I'm not even bothering to show his face. We pop off StarSense a few times inside the dam, see nobody's home, and start strolling through like we own the place. After some 3rd grade Legend of Zelda level style temple navigating and puzzling, we manage to clear a path to another member of the Glue crew. Although this one can apparently see and hear us well enough in the real world to threaten us in spite of the ungodly amount of weapons and foreign armor on our body, but sure, game on. Andrea hits us with something overly obvious. We solve another kindergarten puzzle and realize that we're going to have to off the Malign Spectre siblings more than once. We beat their ass and in the process learn about the Vortex interlock system, which is apparently what allows the teleporting object short range and seems to have weird effects on organic matter, though why these enemies are stable and more capable has not yet been revealed. Oh good, there's a third one. No matter, with a little power gaming and a can-do attitude, that's 3 dead. Then, of course, after disengaging the things holding said Vorlocks interlocks in place, we find an audio log that was probably meant to notice earlier, pretty much detailing the band of blue doofuses attacking me are all actually alive and well in pods of sorts, and their attacks have been manifestations of their consciousness or souls or whatever. Astral projection type beat. This device is what an ASCII used to blow up most of the city outside. Anyways, now we feel bad because they're really only trying to obey their previous prophet. The most recent one was an asshat and conned them into allowing one of themselves to be murdered for religious reasons so he could sneak off with the aforementioned Maxi Nuke. So anyways, we find a way out. We find a way out. We find a way out. Ugh, I think I have to kill them. Whatever, I blame Todd Howard for this one. We yoink one of the Vortex doodads, and understandably the ghosts left alive are pretty pissed, so we skedaddle and let the others live out of pity. All the while they make me question the validity of this decision by opening fire on me at every corner and really bringing that moral compass into question. I settle for kicking the shit out of their spectral forms every time they pop up and continue on our merry way, leaving enough bullet casings and spent stim packs to shame the landfill. Anyways, we take the device back to Acris and he proceeds to tell us he didn't really need it anyways, so all in all I was right and the third house's contribution was effectively nothing. The AI behind Acris struggles with some pathing issues for a few minutes that the Bethesda has become known and loved for, but he eventually gets it right. The machine does a cool little whirly-do firing sequence that doesn't appear to work super well, and Andrea takes it kind of hard. It's like the 3rd time this week. Oh, wait, apparently it worked. Certainly didn't look like it, but sure, whatever, let's take a peek. We start off the tour of the universe's most accursed citadel with a cute little firefly display of average citizens being snuffed out of existence as we approach for some top-shelf existentialism. After a time, it seems we're to contribute to this, and I fulfill our role with an eagerness bordering on manic fatigue. Inside, we meet up with an ASCII and explain to this great value Oppenheimer that in his search for divine power, he managed to solve any pending overpopulation crisis House Varun could have faced for the next several hundred years, and he's clearly not thrilled. He makes some vague excuses that we mostly ignore, and we figure out that we did, in fact, need the backup interlock to fix his fuck-up, so I guess Halstel isn't that useless after all. So we brutally murder more of the Na'vi, unfortunate enough to have had their brains melted, justify it as a mercy killing, and saunter down to the research level like the hero we are. We pop in the new bit of tech and restitch reality back to its natural state, only to discover that our dear Anaski has a storage facility full of people in jars. Oh boy, at least it's consensual? And of course he's building an evil army of teleporting unkillable super soldiers, and it's literally called a fucking crusade. Sure. Anyways, the decision practically makes itself as we send all these poor bastards to the Shadow Realm, and Anaski takes exception to this, calling on specters he couldn't control prior that he now magically has dominion over because of, angry space magic. We carefully make our way back up top for a confrontation, and... Oh god. It's beautiful. Sorry I got distracted. Anyways, let's move on. We continue blasting our way through battalions of baddies and find some interesting bits of lore that confirm the founder was an asshat, steal a few things we don't need out of spite, and find ourselves at the top of the tower. We tell Anaski to go fuck himself, he takes exception again, and we treat him like America treats a budding country that just discovered oil. We wreck the time machine, and I start panicking like a newborn baby deer in headlights when the place starts collapsing, but manage to escape the unroaching death at the last possible second. Despite it being a very obvious exit. Several escape rooms later, we make it out just enough time to see shit go boom and pass out. We wake up to some petty political squabbling about who should rule, and they unsurprisingly put the decision on me. As tempted as I am to name myself, I do think the House of Healing stands the best chance to not start the Third Crusade. Now I just have to remember the name. We use the ancient sacred tactic of eating, meaning, minding well, and hope for the best.
Before you adjourn, is there not one matter more to address?
What? Busted.
I do not understand.
Oh, of course, it falls on us to decide. Again, be kind of stupid at this point not to double down.
So be it.
Oh, damn.
You've neutralized a great
Oh, damn. I guess that's it. I guess it's review time. So I'm going to start this off by giving this a solid 6 out of 10. Better than I expected, worse than I hoped. My initial reading of the reviews said 3 key things that I was keeping an eye out for in this. One reviewer said, and I'm paraphrasing from memory here through all of these, this town was practically a cut-and-copy version of the other outposts. While that may be true in some regards, there's only so much deviation one can allow for when questing in a civilized society. I think the overall architectural stylings and colorations were enough of a deviation from the norm to reflect the isolated society of cultists, so I disagree. The shops have a relatively similar setup as far as the buy-sell trade methods, but the developers seem to try and tie them into the culture and did an adequate job at the process. Number 2. Another made mention that the Varunites sit and feel different from other civilizations. Which, what? This is just entirely wrong. Half these people made me hate them from the get-go with their weird slurs, xenophobic habits, and prejudice I really haven't seen anywhere else in the game except maybe the Starborn. And this stands pretty close to their territory anyways without touching Unity. They were appropriately culty and metaphysical in a way that made them feel unique to interact with, if not savory. Number 3. Andrea doesn't really get involved here. This one I wholeheartedly agree with. While she does provide some offhanded commentary about certain events as they occurred, I can't imagine the commentary deviates much if you have any of the other companions in tow. Not to mention, she never seems to want to talk about, any of it. She's your first real tie to House Varun, and there's no real conversation to be had with her about what's going on with her people and her feelings on the matter as a whole. Now for personal observations, also 3. 1, I don't care what y'all say, I had a hell of a time combat-wise. The enemies weren't ungodly new, just some slimy blue asshats mimicking the Starborn teleportation power at 5 times speed. That being said, even in my ridiculously overpowered state after several cycles of New Game Plus, they handed my ass to me. A lot. Anytime I got too cocky, they reminded me about humility and conservative approaches in combat, and that felt good. Number 2, the city is way too small, incredibly tiny. I was expecting a sprawling metropolis of goth zealots. I get that they made sense with the story, but this is a whole civilization of people. There should be more. And the merging small town with a short storyline felt like a cop-out to avoid having to put too much work in for the fully fleshed out new faction. Number 3, for their nature, the people of the House of Varun were too accepting of me as an outsider. I know that feels like an odd complaint considering how many times I mentioned they were slurring at me, but feels like too much of one of Bethesda's usual go here, upset the power structure tasks. And in such a short timeline too. I mean, these are the people of House Varun. I killed their leader, and now they want me, probably what might be considered the epitome of a heretical traitor terrorist, to select their new power structure. But it doesn't make any sense from a narrative perspective and makes the ending feel like a disappointing flop. All that being said, I did enjoy myself. I found some of the NPCs amusing, even if they couldn't quite attain charming, and I enjoyed making a series of this. So I stand by my rating with confidence. 6 out of 10, 3 stars, somewhat agree. But if you've made it all the way to the end of the rant here, I appreciate you, and I would super appreciate if you would share these videos, even if you don't feel comfortable sending them to people via DMs. Sharing this stuff helps small creators like me in immense ways. If you did, or even if you don't, I just want to say thank you all so very much for watching, and this is your favorite Startled Zombie signing out, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Au revoir.